day today. So I'm sitting in the car. I'm actually in a parking lot, actually outside of a Hagen grocery store. I had to go pick up some things, but I dropped my son off at his swimming class, and so it starts in about 5 minutes, and he's going to go for about 90 minutes. And so I need to buy a few things at the grocery store. I got to pick up some heavy cream for my wife, some cottage cheese, some milk, and one other thing. I don't remember what's on my list, so I don't forget. But anyway, I'm picking up those things here. And I don't want to sit in the car too long, so I'm gonna do a little live for a little bit, maybe half hour or so, something like that. Then I'll run in the store, get the food, and then head over watch the rest of my son's swim practice. So hopefully you guys are doing well. I just got done doing a little workout. I think that's posting right now to YouTube for you guys that sometimes care about. I know a lot of people don't care. I know some of you guys do. It's kind of funny. Some of you guys care about the stuff. Some of you guys don't. I just throw it up there, and if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. If it's interesting to you or inspiring to you or anything like that, then that's great. Obviously, that's sort of one aspect of what I do. I mean, I'm first and foremost a physician, and that is my main concern in getting people healthy. You know, one thing I just saw, and I saw this on Twitter, and I assume this is a deal. Jan Bazuki, who is the wife of, I don't know her husband's first name. I forget, Mark or something like that. Anyway, maybe that's her son. No, her son's name's Matt. Anyway, Matt is a guy who had bipolar disorder, put into remission on a ketogenic diet, and it was impressive. And they happen to be billionaires because they founded this game called Roblox. Some of you guys have kids may know about that. So they've been helping to fund studies on mental health and ketogenic diets. And apparently there's a study going on. I think Chris Palmer actually is one of the primary authors on this study, I think. And it's been done, I think, in Maryland, but apparently it's in progress. And for some reason, the state of Maryland, I guess the Secretary of Health or something in Maryland, I forget her name now, but she has like put the kibosh or something on the study, like not wanting it to proceed. I'm not sure why. It's a privately funded study, but again, we're seeing a lot of resistance to these studies because the study, if it's completed, will likely show that ketogenic diets are extremely beneficial for mental health disorders. And just like the study I have at Harvard right now, or I shouldn't say I helped to organize it. Nick Norwitz and Adrian Sotomoto wrote it up, but I mean, it's sitting at Harvard, and their IRB is refusing to push it forward for whatever reason. I'm sure there's some excuse. But they're really resistant to even letting us do this research, and that's not right, as you guys know. Anyway, let me just scroll through the comments here. We got Andre Fraser saying hi from Jersey. We're good to see that. I've never been to New Jersey. It's on my list. I got to get there. It's one of the about 6 or 7 states I have not yet visited. I've been to New York, not been to New Jersey. So maybe I don't know. Maybe I might be in New York in October, so maybe I could pop over there then. I'm not sure though. To Harry Hutchinson, hey Shawn, love your content. I'm a respiratory therapist in Pennsylvania. Well, good for you, man. Some good RTs are always nice to have. I don't know if you saw there. I did an interview with a guy who had pulmonary fibrosis secondary to a pretty bad COVID infection, and was even actually they were talking about a lung transplant for this guy because his oxygenation was so darn bad. He was around the clock chronic oxygen. I don't know if he's on like some ridiculous 15 liters a night or something like that, and he was constantly satting very low and went carnivore and actually got off oxygen, which is pretty damn cool in my view. Bodacious Mel, thank you, Dr. Baker. I'm loving the Revero app. Well, awesome. I'm glad you're part of the Rivero community, and let me just put that plug in here now. So Rivero is a digital health company that we founded that I am one of the co-founders. The mission is to get people off medications whenever and all possible, to use nutrition and lifestyle to combat chronic disease or treat the root cause. And all of our doctors are on board. And we got coaches that help people every day, and obviously feedback and educational stuff. And so I think that is a future of healthcare. I mean, I think there's a lot of ways healthcare is going, but this is the one I want to support. So thanks for doing that, Mr. Bodacious Mel. Lynn Tucker Carnivore. Well, thanks for spending his time. Yeah, that's right. I saw you in the early one. Yeah, I just happened to have a little bit of time today. Vanessa Sarmiento, Dr. Baker, I environ you. I don't know if you know that there's a Sarmiento is a name that is fairly prominent in orthopedics. Dr. Sarmiento In fact, they have a Sarmiento brace named after. I think he was Argentinian. Maybe correct me. You might be an Argentinian. I don't know. I think that's where he's from. But he was a big proponent of non-operative surgery as part of it. You know, for particularly like things like humerus fractures, and was a master of non-operative healing of bones. So anyway, I thought that throw it out. Maybe you're related to Dr. Sarmiento. Who knows? Aid Larson, 7 days without beef makes 1 week. That's true. Absolutely. Amanda's Violin and Adventures. Carnivore hasn't stopped my seizures, but I'm not stopping carnivore. Well, you know, again, Amanda, any central nervous system disorder, I would make sure you definitely go on a higher fat version of carnivore, and, you know, see how it goes from there. I mean, I can't, you know, I don't know much about what's going on there, but there may be some adjustments you might need to make potentially. Can we get your opinion on red bell peppers, no oxalates? My opinion about red, I hated. I would never eat them because I thought they tasted so awful. I mean, aside from that, I think they taste awful. But I mean, again, I would say, you know, there are certain people where strict carnivore is the answer. It may not be necessary for every single person. It's clearly not, right? So it's one of the things you just have to experiment, see how you do, be objective about it. You know. Will red peppers be a net benefit in your life or a net negative, or will they be relatively neutral? I don't know the answer to that. You're the only one that can find that out. I mean, it's easier when you're on a strict carnivore diet and you add them in one by one to see what the benefit or the potential detriment might be. So I don't know. I know I don't like them. I can't stand them. Whenever they would, like, you know, you'd get to an omelet and somebody had red peppers or green peppers and it'd show up like they wouldn't clean the grill, and it would turn out, I get like one piece of my omelet. It would like literally ruin the whole experience for me. I was like, damn it. I was like, you know, picking it out, and sometimes I'd just send the damn thing back if there's too many in there. Lynn Shane, hey Shawn, I'm RN from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm currently reading your book, The Carnivore Diet, Carnivore 8 Months. Well, thank you for getting the book, and hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully carnivore has helped you so much. Nom Nom's watching from Queensland, Australia. All right, well, hope things are going well down in Queensland. I think they wanted me to go to Australia, I think in November or sometime this year. I just can't do it this year because of too many other traveling commitments, but maybe next year I might make it down there. Maybe, I think they wanted me to go to Adelaide, which I know is not in Queensland. I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, but it might be in, is it Western Australia? I don't know. I don't remember. I can't remember which location of Australia it is. David Fulford, hey, Dr. Shawn, love the content. Client, patient of the other Shawn O'Mara, carnivore doctor. Thanks for all you do. Spread the truth. Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Say hi to Shawn for me. Truly yours, whatever. I have been on carnivore for 48 days and is helping alleviate my insomnia. Awesome. Well, good for you. And again, a lot of things with insomnia, making sure you're good sleep hygiene, which you probably already know. Make sure you don't eat too late. I think that's one of the things on carnivore where that can actually be a net negative. So try not to eat too late. All right. Nothing works for my gut. Had H. pylori, took clarithromycin and amoxicillin for 14 days before I had sleep problems, though. I get heartburn with everything, even carnivore, always fatigue what to eat. Well, typically what I see mostly with people having heartburn on carnivore is often due to fat malabsorption. So I think that's something you have to address either by limiting your exposure to rendered fat or reducing the amount of fat per meal. So it might mean smaller meals for many people, just so you can get enough fat to run your energy system. So those might be things. I'm also available for consultation if anybody wants to, you know, jump in there and do that at some point. I do 30-minute consultations Monday through Friday for 1 hour. I do that. I usually see 2 people a day, just because I like doing it. And I think you can find, maybe there's a link in the bio, I think, where you can do that. I know it's on my social media link somewhere. You can hook that up. Go to carnivore.diet and you can find it as well. All right. Thessaly Meteora says a little heart. Stephanie Martin, diet, metabolism, mental health, neurological. What do you know about CCK for induced anxiety? CCK, digestive issues, diet and limbic system are connected by X. I'm not sure what the X is, but cholecystokinin. I mean, it's you know, obviously a well-described hormone that has been secreted by primarily the upper GI when we notice when fat is present in the digestive tract. I mean, its original and what it was named for is the fact because when CCK is secreted, it cause the gallbladder can contract. That's where the name comes from, cholecystokinin. Remember, kinetic, kinin means movement, and cholecysto refers to the gallbladder. That was its initial description, but it has another. It has a role in satiety. It has a number of other roles in there, and certainly it probably does have some level of neuroendocrine effect as well. So anyway, I'm not sure what you're getting at, but there's certainly some of that. I know, a decent amount about cholecystokinin. Oaktown girls saying hi, and Lisa Rich from Idaho saying hi, and what else we got here? Andre Fraser, out of curiosity, do you know if goat dairy is more tolerable than cow dairy? I asked because I noticed the goat cheese doesn't make me as bloated. For some people, I mean, goat dairy tends to be A2 for those people that think that matters, whereas cow dairy can variably be A1, and generally it's A1 unless you have A2 specific dairy. All right, we got our first super chat question from G. It's from Gunther SB, $5 chat. If I get loose steels from eating rendered fat from beef trimmings, would it be okay to refrigerate the rendered fat for 24 hours and then eat it cold? I mean, you certainly can. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I don't know that it would make a big difference. I think it's probably because it's not going to be cold very long after it hits your gut. I mean, it's still rendered fat, it's still concentrated, and it will turn into liquid fairly quickly once it hits the, what kind of warms up to the temperature of the digestive tract. So probably in that case, what I would do is just kind of dial it back a little bit. Maybe again, you might have to add an extra meal in there and decrease the overall volume per meal. That might be the better strategy. But certainly you can try and see how it goes and see if making it cold, it makes a difference. I suspect the difference might be minimal. Maybe you'll find a big difference there. I don't know, but I suspect. I've never really seen anybody with that question before, but I know that obviously once it's brought to body temperature within the stomach, probably within 10 minutes, it's probably going to be fairly well warmed up again. So maybe it doesn't make that big of a difference. It might though. So let me know how it goes. Let us know. All right. Natalie just says I have to be struck. I'm sure it means strict carnivore. Harry Hutchinson, have I ever been to Pennsylvania? No, I've not. That's one of the states I've not been to. Pennsylvania, it's a pretty big sized state, right? I've been to Ohio, I've been to New York. In fact, I go to Ohio, Columbus, Ohio in September. I'm speaking at a veterinarian. I'm the keynote speaker at a veterinarian event. So I need to put that talk together, think about it, and book my tickets. I haven't done that yet. September 12th through 14th, I believe. I'm not sure what day I'm speaking, so I'm going to try to figure that out. But no, I've not been to Pennsylvania either. So I think if I look at the states I haven't been to, I know Alaska's on there. I know Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Delaware. What else? I think New Hampshire, Vermont, and that might be it. I think I've been to every other state. I think there might be one other there that I missed. Do you know of anyone that shares all of this information in Spanish? I know there are some doctors out there that do it in Spanish. I'm blanking on some names right now, and I apologize. I forget, but I know there are some out there that do it. All right, let me see here. Okay, here's another super chat question, I guess. Zach Owens, is fruit plus meat bad? Saladino looks aged now from it. It's hard to say. I mean, I think that it's certainly not the worst diet in the world, and it's better than probably 99% of the diets out there. Is that what has made him look aged? I mean, some people would debate whether he looks. Some people say I looked aged. I mean, it's all kind of perspective, and a lot of times it's clouded by who you like and who you don't. If you don't like somebody, you think they look ugly. If you like somebody, you think they look okay. It may be the fact that he's in the sun all the time. I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't pay attention to Paul, quite honestly. I just kind of lost interest in what he's been doing. When he started selling supplements, I kind of felt that was, it didn't match my ethics. I'll just leave it at that. But I mean, it could. Yeah, I mean, it's probably okay for a lot of people, quite honestly. I think that diet is probably not that bad for a lot of people, and maybe, quite honestly, quite good for many people. I mean, you're gonna have to see. I know a lot of people that have tried that and it went from carnivore to adding fruit. they did okay for a while, and a lot of times they end up saying, this is just not working for me, and they go back to a more strict version of carnivore diet. I certainly would question eating lots and lots of fruit every single day. I think that, maybe occasionally having a piece of fruit here and there, that might be a better way to go. But anyway, don't make it a religion. I'm not religious about this diet, as you guys probably know. I mean, I look at it as a therapeutic potential. I do it I do it pretty strict myself just because I like it, and I don't necessarily think that's what everybody needs to do. I know there's other people that would disagree. There's other people that think that it is the be all and end all of everything. But anyway, let's see. All right, Tina Davis started carnivore 6-1, 30 days in. PSA stopped. Amgetiva injections, swimming and cycling feel great. All right, well, good job on that. Johnny, is good quality rare raw dairy good for you? Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Let's see, John Gardner. I know you're not on testosterone, but do you know your number? On carnivore, would I be able to come off the test? I'm on 175. I assume that's milligrams a week and still low 800s. I mean, testosterone changes every day. I mean, it literally varies quite a bit. Now, the few times I've checked it, maybe 3 or 4 times in the last 8 years, I think I've checked it 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. It's always been on the lowish side. It's been as low as 220 to as high as maybe 450. And I don't really worry about the number so much. I worry about clinical function, because you have to realize, and the data is pretty clear on this, there are people that are extremely sensitive to testosterone. They have upregulation of their testosterone receptors. They have more numerous testosterone receptors, just like we have insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance. We have testosterone sensitivity and testosterone resistance. And so it's kind of a combination of the both. So it's not so much what your number is, it's, do you wake up every morning with a heart on, with an erection? Can you put on muscle? Are you strong? Are you lean? Is your mental health good? That's what I care about. I could give a flying what about what my number is. I don't care. And these people that brag about their number like it's something special, I'm like, well, there's people with high testosterone that are weak as, just weak. It's like, or they can't get it up. I mean, it's like, who cares? Who cares what your number is? Worry about your clinical function. That's what actually, at the end of the day, ultimately is what you should care about and what matters. And just taking a drug to have a certain number, in my view, is quite honestly, it's kind of stupid, in my view. I think you shouldn't need to be on testosterone. I think you should be, into your, I'm almost 60 years old, and everything works very well for me. I'll just leave it. I won't get into too many graphic details, but I think that's, if you're doing the right things, getting good sleep, not eating garbage, not out drinking, not drinking beer, not fat, training right, you shouldn't need that stuff, in my view. But I mean, there's plenty of people. Remember that testosterone is a $4 or $5 billion industry right now. There are a lot of people making a lot of money off this, telling you got to have your number. Your number's got to be a certain way. It's like, it's the same old drug thing. I mean, maybe these guys are, maybe they pose themselves as, I'm against the system. I want strong men. But I mean, it's really kind of the same thing, quite honestly. All right, we got another super chat question from Scooter, $9.99. Hi, Dr. Baker. I'm diabetic and been carnivore 3 weeks, but I still have elevated glucose in my morning fast. Checks 140, 160. Should I be close to normal with no carbs? Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Well, I mean, again, I don't know what your traditional numbers are, if that's high, if it's about what you normally run. I don't know how long you've been diabetic. What I will say is, again, the numbers are relevant in diabetes for sure, but you need to be working on getting leaner, losing the body fat. One thing I will say is fasting blood glucose in the context of a carnivore diet is a little bit different, because we know that if you're eating, say you eat a big steak at 6, 7, 8 p.m., it will not be digested by the morning. You will still be literally postprandial. You'll still be in the fed state. It takes a long time for all that meat to get its way through the digestive tract, maybe 16, maybe 18 hours or longer in many cases. So you're not even actually fasting, unless it's like at least 18 hours between meals. You're probably not even at a true fasting number. So that's one thing. you know, I mean that's the thing. I would again, if you're checking with a finger stick in the morning, if you can get a CGM, that would be very, very helpful. And if you're a diabetic, you should be able to get one. Your doctors prescribe you one. They have them. Those on the different even over the counters coming out this summer. All right, so let me go to this. See what else we have here. Dropping Bear Survivor A799. I don't know, is that an Australian dollar? I don't know. Is eating too much on carnivore? Is eating too much on carnivore? I'm 30. I'm 6 foot, 120 pounds, and can easily eat 6 pounds of meat a day. Most people say only 2 pounds is enough. Thank you, sir. Well, I mean, I don't know what your goal is. 6 foot 120 is quite thin. If you're trying to gain weight, then eat up, man. You need to eat up, and you can certainly eat that much. Eventually, it'll probably level out, I would say. If you're not having reflux, I mean, if you're breaking it, like maybe you're eating 2 pounds 3 times a day, which is probably, I mean, I certainly can do that. I mean, of course, I'm 6'5" and I weigh 260, but or actually 259.8 this morning. I was just snuck under that 260 mark. I'm trying to come down about 240 slowly. No, it may not be too much. You may just need that much, and that's certainly I think reasonable. All right, let me go over this other super chat. It's we already did we already do this one? No, Seth Jones. Oh, it just says 1, so I guess that's a harder thank you. Thanks, Seth. There's no question there, but anyway, I appreciate that. So let's see what else we got here. How do I get out of this thing? All right, here we go. I can find some more questions here. Okay, we got Rob Salsing, strict carnivore for a little over a year, help with my diabetes, hypothyroidism, and Meniere's disease. Well, that's awesome. That's really good. Yeah, I mean, and I look at it as a therapeutic. Use it as a therapeutic intervention. Do it for as long as necessary to get healthy, and then if you want to continue or just do it periodically, or kind of, that's a good strategy in my mind. I think that's very plausible and doable for most people. All right, we got Shelly Sipe saying hi from Camano Island in Washington. Well, I've been out in the what are they, San Juan Islands and stuff like that. I've been up in that area. We often go to Whidbey Island, which is not too far away, but I think I know I've been on the San Juan Islands, Orcas Islands. You leave from, what's the name of that little ferry area? Begins with an A. I'm blanking on the name of it, but anyway, good to see you there. Good to see. All right, let's see, I'm just going to skip around a little bit here. Dana Camp, prediabetes gone. Cholesterol and triglycerides are perfect, as is blood pressure. Changed my eating in January. Awesome. One thing I will say about cholesterol is often when we see people that are a little bit on the overweight to obese side, we can often see cholesterol going down. And when you get thinner and thinner, sometimes cholesterol goes up, and there's some physiological reasons for it. So it's interesting to see how it goes. Oaktown Girl, 7 months carnivore, off all my asthma meds and other health improvements. Awesome for you. And I don't know if you saw, I just published a study. I didn't do it on YouTube. I should do it maybe tomorrow. I'll talk about it. There's a study just came out recently. It was published like last week, talking about asthma, and high LDL was associated with less. So high LDL cholesterol associated with longer life expectancy in asthmatics, and low LDL cholesterol is associated with less life expectancy with asthmatics. Again, the same old thing we've been seeing. So maybe I'll do that. So we got another question here from Seth Jones. How best to use carnivore for eczema and allergies? I'm asking for a girlfriend. If WEX matters, I'm not sure what WEX, WEX matters. I'm sure what that part is, but I would, how long to best use it for? I would say you want to do at least 3 months to see an effect, to see if there's going to be an effect. I think that's a fair assessment. Anything less than that, sometimes you're just transitioning for the first month or two. So I think give it 3 months. Most skin conditions, usually we see something often within a month. About 50% of the people, I would say, I know with psoriasis, which I've specifically done surveys on, will improve within about a month, about 50%. The other people, some people takes 3 months, 6 months, or so on and so forth for significant resolution of psoriasis. But eczema, yeah, I mean, often, and you might have to be fairly strict. I mean, make sure the dairy might be an issue. Again, if you do carnivore and you're eating like a little fruit here and a little dairy there, and your eczema is not going away, or eggs even, you just may have to be stricter. And so that's something to keep in mind with that sort of stuff. All right. Linda, how do you recommend converting to a carnivore diet, also being perimenopausal? Well, I don't know that whether you're perimenopausal or not affects how you would convert over. I think a couple things. So if you're like very, very ill, you're on a lot of medications, you have a lot of health issues, certainly get your physician involved. And certainly if you want to use Rivero, that's a great place because our physicians understand this and do it all the time. But there's really two thoughts here. One is, it's like taking a Band-Aid off. You just rip the Band-Aid off, or you slowly pull it off bit by bit. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. Sometimes you'll rip the Band-Aid off and just jump in, with both feet, can lead to significant transitional symptoms. It's some that are severe enough where people just can't tolerate it. And so that's something to be mindful of. Other people will transition in. Like when I did carnivore diet, when I first did it, literally what I did was I ate one carnivore meal. I remember I had steak and eggs for breakfast. I didn't have whole wheat toast, and I didn't have orange juice, and I didn't have a piece of fruit or whatever, or yogurt with it. And I was like, well, I didn't die. It was fine. Tasted good. I enjoyed it. So, sometimes it's just adding a carnivore meal in, and then do 2 meals, and then do 3 meals, and then you do 2 days and 3 days and 5 days and 7 days. And you just gradually adopt it. That's one strategy. Some people will say, hey, cut your, in my book, I talk about different sort of transition strategies that are there. I kind of spell this stuff out, but one thing you can do is just taper down the fiber, taper down the carbs. I would not recommend quitting coffee at the same time and I don't drink coffee, but I know a lot of people struggle with reducing coffee or quitting coffee. They get caffeine headaches and withdrawal headaches and that type of stuff. So I would be careful of that. All right, Spencer Guffrey, any idea why an old wrist injury believed to be healed years ago, maybe randomly causing pain 30 days into carnivore? Thank you. I don't know for sure. I don't know what the wrist injury was. If it was if it was a brace, a whole bunch of things. Sometimes what I see is because people feel better on carnivore, they become more active and they start doing more things. And sometimes they just injure themselves. It could be that. It could be something unrelated and random. Some of these things are just, while I certainly am one of the most vocal proponents of the fact that saying that nutrition does impact all aspects of our health, including our musculoskeletal system, including our joints and our, joints and muscles and tendons and so on and so forth, ligaments. There are other things that could impact that, a cold, stress, poor sleep, all those things potentially can be stressful to the body and lead us to, flare up in symptoms. So I can't say for sure. All right, what do we got here? We got Anxious Eric. Do you think it's okay to start carnivore overnight? Overnight? I'm not sure what that means. Bart K said it could lead to serious issues, but never specified. What are your thoughts? Start carnivore overnight. I'm not even sure what you mean, but you mean like have dinner and then go to sleep? As opposed to what? Start in the morning. I don't see a big issue. I'm not sure what Bart's is. Bart is, I like Bart, but Bart, he likes to play to the audience. He's got his shtick, right? I don't know. I can't think of anything major that I would be worried about having my first carnivore meal being a night meal. If that's what you're asking, because I don't know where else that would go. So I can't think of anything super significant that would make me like, oh, only start in the morning. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I don't think it's a real issue that I can think of. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong about a lot of things. All right, what else we got here? All right. Brooke O'Connor, how much fasting would you recommend for perimenopausal women? Well, I'd recommend a whole number of things. And again, it depends on what your goal is. If you're trying to lose weight, then, fasting. It depends where you're at. It depends on what your appetite's like. Depends on what your background is. I can't really have a blanket recommendation there. Again, once again, I do consultations if you want to, if it's something you wanted to do. I can get a little more information what's going on. This is a little hard format to do that, but in general, you know, I certainly, I think intermittent fasting throughout the day is fine for almost everybody. I mean, you know, I mean, there's very rare exceptions where I think that would be detrimental to people. I think that, you know, prolonged fasting maybe potentially there may be some issues around that, you know, particularly with regard to preserving muscle mass and those types of things. I mean, there's some people where I think the diet should naturally lend itself to infrequent meal patterns. I've said that for years now. I mean, if your diet allows you to easily skip a meal, you know, if we're so used to eating 3 meals a day and 2 or 3 snacks a day and grazing, your diet should put you in a situation where you don't feel like you need to do that anymore. And that's, you can basically call that intermittent fasting if you want. Many people in carnivore often default to a 2 meal a day pattern. But as far as, you know, what could be helpful, I mean, if you need that extra, like, sort of, you know, just you don't have enough insight into your appetite and know what you need intuitively, sometimes putting that artificial clock on there, like I'm only going to eat every 18 hours or every 24 hours or something like that, sometimes that can be a benefit. But I'd have to know really honestly more about your health and what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve to really speak truly intelligently on that. Can't get raw dairy in Canada. What's the best second option? Hi from PEI? PEI, where is that? PEI, I'm trying to think what that is. I don't know what that means. Just regular dairy is fine. Raw dairy people are probably crazy, but if you tolerate it, you know. I mean, you know, you might find that certain dairy products, whether it's cheese versus butter versus ghee versus straight up milk, are, you know, stepwise better or worse than the others. So I don't worry so much about raw versus not raw, myself personally, quite honestly. All right, we got another super chat question here from Anxious Eric again. Bart K said no one should change to carnivore overnight. He said they should slowly adapt to carnivore over 6 to 8 weeks to avoid serious issues. Oh, I see what you mean. My apologies on that. I apologize, Eric. Overnight meaning rapidly changing. Okay, so I think, you know, it depends. I mean, it depends where you're starting. I think if you're already on a ketogenic diet, a lot of people can drop into carnivore, no problem. But I think the average person is eating a high carb diet or standard American diet, many of them will transition. And in fact, Rivero is kind of set up that way. We tend to transition people more so than just start. And we don't even actually send everybody to carnivore, depending on what they're dealing with and what's working for them. So yeah, in that aspect, I do agree. And I apologize for the confusion. I thought you were talking about night versus day, and it was just obviously a figure of speech. It's my bad for doing that, so I apologize. Yeah, I mean, I think certainly there are some potential issues for rapidly transitioning in. Again, with the following caveats: if you're already low carb, if you're relatively healthy, I mean, certainly you can potentially just go cold turkey and do it. I think there are people that can do that, but for probably most people, yeah, a transition period might make sense. We got Big Water saying Ontario, Canada, says hi, Dr. Baker. Okay, awesome. I've been to Ottawa, and I've been to what else? Ottawa, and I've been to Toronto. Toronto is in, correct me if I'm wrong, but Toronto, I believe, is in Ontario. I might be wrong on that, but I've been to those places. Do you drink raw milk, Johnny Z? Sometimes I do, but sometimes I just have regular dairy. I mean, it's designed for you to pack on weight. That's why dairy exists, right? So it's very easy to overconsume it. So you have to be mindful about it. Okay. Here's a funny question: would you ever consider being the Surgeon General? I don't think people want me as the Surgeon General because I'd be too much of a hard ass, I suppose. You know, it's interesting. I'm going to, you know, we've got obviously elections coming up, and I was asked by, you know, the major candidate. We got Trump, we got Biden, we got RFK, you know, Robert Kennedy Jr. running, and Kennedy's running mate, Nicole Shanahan, has just invited me to do a podcast with her. So it's interesting. I mean, she's running for vice president, you know, I mean, wants to interview me and talk to me about nutrition and so on and so forth. So it's good that people are having that discussion, that it's coming on the radar. So I'll do that in, I think, July 15th is when I'm meeting with her to discuss this. So it's kind of interesting. So, you know, I think the possibility of me becoming the Surgeon General is like like 0.0000001%. I mean, I think there's too many powers that be that would not want someone like me in there, quite honestly. But, you know, depending on what you could accomplish in that position, am I better served in the private sector, providing, or can you change things from the governmental side? I'm skeptical about the governmental side of anything. I think the government is so wildly corrupt and corrupted and influenced that you might be wasting your time and spinning your wheels where you might have more efficacy, but maybe not. I don't know. I don't, it's an interesting question. I don't know that that would ever be a thing that someone would consider me for. Dry Lip John. Hey, Dr. Shawn, Carnivore has given me a terrible break out across my body and head. I suspect it's from the eggs, but not sure any advice. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long you've been carnivore. I don't know, it could be a dairy product. It could be sensitivity to eggs. It could be ketosis. I mean, sometimes the ketones being excreted through your skin can be irritative. So, I mean, it could be any of those things. It could be oxalates, potentially. Some people would make that claim. So, hard to say. So, if it's any of those things, you can sort of figure that out. If it's ketones, and you get better at utilizing ketones, and they tend not to be excreted as much. Maybe adding carbs in and see if coming out of ketosis helps. If it's dairy, obviously stop the dairy. If it's eggs, obviously stop the eggs, and see what changes it. Dr. Barry was having his YouTube's translated to Spanish for your information. Okay, well, awesome. I don't know if there's a fee for that or how you do it. What do you think of 1 top of raw honey raising testosterone versus the 6 grams of sugar and 1 teaspoon on the carnivore diet, of course? I don't really care that much. I mean, again, I think artificially playing with numbers doesn't really matter. Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Insulin affects gonadotrophin releasing hormone, which is released by the hypothalamus in the brain. It then affects the pituitary, which goes on to stimulate luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, which then go on and affect the testicle cells to produce testosterone, right? So there is a relationship between insulin. So higher insulin sometimes can equal higher testosterone, but monkeying with the numbers just by eating honey, it potentially is just that. You're just monkeying with the number. Are you actually improving your testosterone sensitivity? Are you just lowering your testosterone sensitivity and raising the testosterone number and not getting any clinical effect? So it's kind of like, again, people are too obsessed with numbers and don't understand clinical outcomes, right? It's like, oh, if my testosterone's high, everything must be hunky-dory. Well, maybe not. Or, oh, if my testosterone is low, everything must be awful. Well, maybe not. It's a relationship between the receptor and the hormone, and probably 20 other things, quite to be honest. And so we have to look outside of just monkeying with numbers, which a lot of people, and people will sell you all number of products, testosterone boosters and all this crap. At the end of the day, are you stronger? Are you leaner? Are you sexually functioning better? Are you cognitively better? And if you're not, I don't care what your numbers are. And most people won't tell you that. Most people are out there selling you testosterone boosters or putting you on TRT. And I think a lot of that stuff, unfortunately, is nonsense. All right. Brit Chicken, Texas. Hey, Dr. Becker, my blood pressure went down after going keto, but then I went carnivore 4 years ago, gained weight. Blood pressure's gone up, and again, experienced some arthritis, stiffness in hands again. Well, I mean, maybe you're just older, which could be one conclusion. But if you're fatter, I mean, if you put on body fat is inflammatory. So I don't know, maybe you just ate too much on carnivore, and that can happen. I know there's people saying, oh, you can never eat too much on carnivore. That's BS. I know you can. I can gain body fat on carnivore very easily if I want to, and sometimes if I don't want to be honest. So yeah, I mean, you have to get rid of the extra body fat, I think. And that should help with these things if it's, I mean, unless it's just, I'm just 4 years older and it's just part of that, but I suspect it's probably because you gain weight. All right. Kathy Marshall, I just found a food chart in my old papers from early 70s. Says grains should be 4 to 5 servings a day. Then, what happened here? Oh, I lost it. Sorry, guys. All right. All right. Have you ever had a bad quality ribeye? Says Burns Aquatics. I mean, I've had some that were less tasty than others, some that were kind of tough and stuff like that. Sure. I mean, I've had some that weren't as good as others. I mean, my wife's birthday was Saturday, and so we go to this really fancy steakhouse in Santa Monica called BOA, B-O-A. Really nice. I mean, they had this, ridiculously expensive. I mean, the whole place was friggin' rip off. I mean, in a way, I mean, it's just didn't have expensive. So, but it was her birthday, so I wanted to have a nice meal. And I remember getting we had some lamb, we had some scallops, we had some bone marrow, we had some short ribs, like pulled short rib. We had a Wagyu flight, which is like 3 ridiculously like $50 an ounce stuff. You have like 2 ounces of that. It was like a $200 3 flight. It was like I don't know, maybe half a pound of Wagyu beef, pretty high end, but that was so damn good. I mean, holy cow. I mean, there's different levels, but I mean, most of it, even a tough ribeye of lower quality, I still enjoy the heck out of. I mean, it's, compared to almost anything else. All right, we got another $10 question from Gunter again. Thank you for sharing so much information, Dr. Baker. Would you happen to know if there's any way to cook beef fat trimmings without the majority of it rendering? Well, I guess it's going to depend on the temperature, right? And depend on how much you want to cook it. I think sous vide would probably be, in my view, the way you could dial it in the best. So you might cook it to a lower temperature in a sous vide, and that probably would prevent some of it render liquid, turning it into rendered liquid. So I mean, sous vide low and slow for a long period of time might be an option for you. So that's because usually most people, if they're intentionally rendering it, then they're cooking under higher heat. Or like what I would do when I was trying to add fat. I would take, fat trimmings, cut them up into cubes, salt them up, put them in an air fryer. And, some of it would render out, but you'd still be left with a pretty crispy, almost crunchy piece of fat, which was quite good. So those are things you can try. All right. I'm going to do, I guess I got to figure it. I've got about 5 more minutes left, guys, and then I'm going to have to go. Like I said, I got to run to the store, pick up some stuff, go pick up my son from swimming. All right. We got JD Forever podcast. Started the nursing program this coming spring. Eventually, I want to open a wellness center as a nurse practitioner to help everyone down the cellular level, mental health as well. Well, good for you. Good luck to you, and hopefully that works out for you. All right. All right, here's another $10 deal here. Who's your carnivore? Fit 4-year-old carnivore, 1 year getting back in the gym. Have you not lifted weights in a long time? What regimen would you recommend to build strength and lean mass? Love grilling your steak. Loved grilling your steak in Austin. Where did I have a grilled steak from in Austin? I'm trying to remember. I had, KetoCon. So I was, anyway, you have to remind me exactly where that was. But, well, gosh, where to start on lifting. I think the big basic fundamental lifts are just tremendously beneficial. I mean, it's going to give you the most bang for your buck. If you're injured, if you can do it without injury. So deadlift, squats, pressing of some sort, bench press, overhead press, whatever. I mean, those are things, you can start starting strength. You can start with there's a whole 531. There's a whole bunch of programs out there that are designed in kind of a powerlifting base. I think that's a pretty good place to start. I think machines are a great way to train. If you don't have a lot of experience, that's a good way to safely train in a range of motion. I think, looking at the volume you need. If the goal is hypertrophy, which it may or may not be, like my goal really isn't hypertrophy. My goal is to be fast and strong and be able to jump and run and do those things. So I'm not trying to maximize for muscle development. So my training is very different than somebody who might want to bodybuild. So bodybuilding, we know that the data seems to support volume. So something like 10, 12 sets of work per body part per week. So it might look like, 12 sets of some sort of chest exercise, maybe bench press, 6 bench press and 6, cable crossovers or flies or something like that, done to near failure about about 12 times a week. That's a pretty, and you just kind of add it to all the body parts. It could be chest, it could be triceps, deltoids, biceps, forearms, calves, quads, hamstrings, glutes, low back, whatever. And that's how I would just kind of program that. If your goal is hypertrophy, if it's strength based, then you got to start lifting heavier and maybe not as much volume. If your goal is to perform, then you got to do the performative stuff. Like I'm doing a lot of plyometrics right now because that is my goal, is to jump and to run fast, and so I've got to train a little bit differently. All right, guys, I'm going to shut it down. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. I got to go run to the store, and I'm sure I'll do one of these again in the near future. You guys have a great day. Take care, everybody, and have a great evening. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.